Welcome to the live stream. How's everyone? What's the reason for the disappearance? There is no reason. We're just waiting for some price action, and we're seeing price action. Good to see you too. So here we are. Wait for some more people to join. Yeah. So obviously we've been busy teaching people waves. So getting those people to understand the waves has been pretty important recently at the small degree. So, you know, there comes a time where, too much talk doesn't really help, but getting some, price action moving in the right direction is more important, making those profits and understanding the waves so we can continue to move in the direction where we're heading. That's pretty important. So it's all about that, really. So being, the person who runs the show here with Ariaswave, it's basically it's critical to understand where we are, not get swept away by certain pieces of news or other people's attitudes towards the markets, because really there's nothing happening. There's nothing changing. Nothing has changed, right? Apart from the price action, which speaks for itself, right? Everything is about the price action. So for me, it's like, if you want to learn the waves, definitely you should join. You will understand the waves a lot better, and you won't even need to worry about what other people think. Well, because you'll have access to the members only group that we have. There's lots of updates going on there, a lot of insights that are way more complex than anything that I put out on public charts, because obviously there needs to be a good reason for that to happen. So in saying that, just need a few more people to join and then we'll start. But everything looking pretty positive for cryptos at the moment. We've seen our move up in Bitcoin, XLM's making its move. Well, basically all cryptos are moving up because they all follow Bitcoin and the trend up, which means the US dollar is starting to weaken. And it's doing just that at the moment. So that's pretty key right now. So fill in that. Right now, we've got some people waking up in the US, and it's morning for some people. So here in Australia, it's the evening, and thought I'd share some info if there is enough interest in this. US dollar definitely starting to move lower again, showing some weakness there. Welcome, Felix. Good to see you. Excellent. Good to see, yes, the waves. Beautiful waves. We're seeing some interesting price action in the US dollar. Starting to definitely turn down a bit. But, you know, we're still got a while to go, which is good because that means that, you know, we still have a decent move up in wave 3 for XLM, cryptos in general in this last move up. So welcome, Quarter. Good to see you. Interesting things happening as always. People getting antsy, need an update. Here we are. And that's fine. And that's fine because what has happened since the last live stream? Well, we went up and we got choppy. So getting into that choppiness now where the waves are pretty clear, right? And the interesting thing about this latest move that's made it even more choppier is an expanded pattern. And it's literally about 2 little minor waves away from accelerating higher in wave 3. So that type of thing is exciting. We're just basically right at that point now where it's just going to go straight up, straight line up. So yeah, the DXY, I mean, the US dollar is under pressure for sure. You know, when you understand the larger pattern, it's pretty interesting to see how, you know, A, it's making its way lower, but B, you understand what's coming after it finally bottoms, you know, after this downtrend ends, because it's going to end obviously at some point, but that's when it's game over for a lot of markets, commodities, gold, precious metals, cryptos. But during that process of the US dollar making that low, we're going to see a lot of fluctuations in the markets. We're going to see a lot of ups and downs, but they're going to be so significant, these ups and downs, that it's just actually going to blow things away. Like it's gonna literally wipe people out in the process of making those moves. And that's the thing that really interests me the most, right? And you know, like I'm not really too worried about posting so many updates during that process, but it's, you know, getting people to understand that that's going to happen is the most interesting part. Because as the US dollar's, you know, stepping down, it's not just going to step down, down, down. It's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, basically sending cryptos, you know, making them lose a large percentage along the way, but then going back up to those levels again, and then, you know, coming back down. It's just going to be like an oscillating thing. And that's the thing that is the most interesting. So this move that's happening now, it's like just part one of a 4-part series of waves, right? Now, obviously there's going to be the move down, but not too interested in making money on the move down. Okay. It's more going to be serving as a confirmation of the move up, right? So, I mean, it's okay if, you know, I mean, it's a bit different. Cryptos are a bit different than trying to trade like the euro, right? With the euro, it's very easy to margin trade, you know, leveraged up. It's easy to go up and down, right? But with cryptos, they don't have that same. It's not as easy, right? Like margin trading on crypto, it's fairly expensive and it's very risky, right? And that's simply because of the large percentage moves in crypto. But it's not a bad thing if you swing trade, in my opinion, right? It's just my opinion. So once we hit that high on cryptos, it's like, okay, sell, wait for crash. Just like you're waiting for these moves to go up, okay? Moves up take a little bit longer than moves down, right? It's like taking the stairs to go up and then taking an express elevator down. That's how markets operate, okay? So that's why a lot of the patterns that occur in the markets, they are pretty sharp down, even in corrections, right? They're sharp down, but then they step up. Sharp down, step up. And it's that kind of thing that it really throws people off, especially if you don't know the waves. It'll throw you off into like a little spiral of confusion and misunderstanding, fear, and then once it starts going up, it's the FOMO, and this repeats over and over again at the small degree, at the large degree. So what I can see happening here is crypto's going to the upside because I'm sure people are shorting it right now. And then once we get that sort of like that, you know, peak above the highs, a lot of people are going to go and buy cryptos at the highs because they think it's like a breakout trade. But the problem with the breakout trade is that that usually only works in a bull market. And we're not in a bull market in cryptos. Okay. It's still a bear market. Everything is in a bear market, you know, since 2017. Okay. You remember when the Dow Jones went up to 2017 and then suddenly we had this big move down, big up, big down. It's just sideways from there. Now, it doesn't matter that we've seen this massive rally in the Dow Jones or cryptos recently since, you know, March 2020. It doesn't really matter because it's part of the correction and it's all just, you know, FOMO, stimulus, stimmy check, you know, all that stuff just pumping this thing right up. It's just pumping it up. Well, that's right. And I mean, this is something that I've always been very curious about. It's something that I even see a lot of members being curious about, is attaching the news event to the wave pattern. Now, it's fun to do as a side thing, and believe me, it definitely is. It definitely works. It happens, but sometimes people can try to attach a news event. Like they're trying to look for a news event. They're trying to look for the catalyst, but there is none, right? There is no catalyst, and that's because the waves, you know, they're based on human emotion, human behavior, etc. But the people always try to find the reason for it. But you know, it's you can't reverse engineer the markets using the news. So that's always obvious, but to some people, it's I don't know. I don't know. Some people use some very interesting strategies out there, not necessarily useful in any way. Just you know, trading the news, that type of thing. Fair enough. If you do that, if you're good at it, keep doing it. If you're not, there's probably a good reason for it. And markets are a mechanical thing. Waves do tend to change in variance during, you know, corrective patterns. So knowing that trying to apply an indicator to a pattern that's expanding, it's really not accurate because patterns are not always going to be straightforward. So using an indicator, especially during a bear market, can throw you off completely because you're looking for divergence in a bear in a like a corrective pattern. You're going to get divergence all over the place because it's just indicators are just not reliable in that way. They're just mathematical calculations based on strength, this and that. But sometimes the middle part of a correction of a zigzag that's expanding can look like it's providing some divergence, but then you've got the rest of the pattern unfolding, and it just, depending on how you trade it, it can wipe you out, it can confuse you, and there's just no point to it, really. But when you understand the waves, you're literally just waiting for the wave pattern to unfold, and that's your guide, right? It's your compass. So that compass there is basically, it's peace of mind. You don't constantly worry about what the markets are trying to do because you know that, and that's basically like what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. Me not posting, it's like, yeah, nothing has changed. It's going to go up. It's probably going to get choppy because, like, you got to think about it. We're near a top, right? And, the last move up isn't necessarily a strong move like a wave 3, right? It's not going to go straight up in a straight line. It's probably going to take its time. And when you look at, like the US dollar, you see that the US dollar is not really going down in a straight line since March 2020. It started off looking sharp, but towards the middle part of the move, which is wave 3, you'd expect wave 3 to be sharp, right? But no, because it's an E pattern, it's actually gotten choppier, right? And this is why these moves are not happening as fast as you'd expect. Like if you measure the duration of the A wave of the first part of this zigzag that happened in March 2020, it took 82 days, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this move since the last low in XLM took around 82 days, give or take, right? And it's things like that once you know the waves, you're just waiting. You're just playing the waiting game, and you're patiently waiting. You're not frazzled. You're not really stressing about what's going to happen next. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go? No, you know where it's going. You just need to be chill. All right. Focus on other things, right? Learn the waves. That's always the thing that is the most important, right? Because yes, you're expecting a move to happen, but there are already moves that have happened. Do you understand the patterns that have happened in the past to the point where you can happily sit on your hands confidently, right? If you can't do that, then you're literally just wasting time waiting for a move to happen. Yeah, you can make a prediction, you can make an assumption, but then you got to let it unfold without clouding your mind, and trying to, will the market. You can't will the market. The market's going to do what it's going to do. But if you have the idea of what it's going to do, all that spare time that you're wasting looking at the markets could easily be used to analyze all the previous moves to really understand, and not just on XLM, not just on BTC, it could be on the Dow Jones, could be on Euro cross pairs, or it doesn't matter. The waves are the same across the board. No waves look the same, even though they produce a similar pattern, the same pattern, but with the variances, right? So that's basically what I used to do since I, created Ariaswave. It was, not only test out the theory, but also use the time that I'm looking at the current price action, go back, research every wave. If I'm not comfortable understanding every single move that's happened in a market, then how could I possibly understand the waves? For the members, that's important. And you know what? I gear this more towards members anyway. So, it's not like I have a massive following at the moment. No worries. Maybe once we get some, some good numbers under our belt, that'll change and I don't care. But it still comes back to the point that if you're not obsessed about the waves, you're never going to know them. You might as well go watch Magic Poop Cannon extrapolating into God knows which dimension and planetary system on the other side of the galaxy, as to where price might go. And, that's fine if you're a hodler, but there's a lot of money to be made in between moves. And that's why I'm here. That's why I do this. And I think that's important. Welcome, Ecolai. Good to see you. Just cooking up a storm here with the waves, trying to just give my thoughts on the waves before we move to some charts. Nothing has changed really. And this is very crucial. Like I have never ever at one point indicated that, I'm worried about the price action potentially going in a different direction than I initially thought. Okay. Now, when you're wrong, right? You change, you count, you adjust, which you should always, right? No one's perfect. But at the same time, you should always know when to relax and know when to update. Welcome, Johnny P. Good to see you. No problem. Always happy to be here. Now, BTC is doing exactly what I've said. It's the same thing. If BTC is going up, XLM is going up. Dow Jones going up. Euro going up. Okay. Everything is against the US dollar. Everything is against the US dollar. I can't say it enough. Since time immemorial, it's basically that. That's the thing. That's the key. That's the driver. The US dollar. In this current financial system, everything's priced against US dollars. Sure, you can price things against other things, but the most mainstream popular way to look at charts is against the US dollar, the world reserve currency. Now, since 71, when everything, when it was unpegged, the US dollar was no longer under the gold standard. It's been like 50 years now, 50 years since that happened. And all we have seen is prices go up because it's against the US dollar, right? So what does it mean? It means that it's being devalued at a really large scale. Okay, so I've said this many times. Is it gold that's going up in value or the US dollar going down in value? Is it stock prices going up in value or the US dollar going down in value? Right? And it's pretty obvious that they're printing like hell and it's causing, massive inflation in asset prices, and it's causing an inflation shock for now. But this is all leading towards, the end game, right? The end game. So what is the end game? Okay. Now, I don't know how much you do your research into certain things because, like I said before, it's interesting to attach a news event to, price action, which is what people do typically, right? But what about if you actually start to dig deeper and have a look at people's, ideologies, as especially like these elites? What are their ideologies and what are they trying to do with all of this drama that's going on in the world today with this cerveza sickness, right? And basically trying to, inoculate people with a, basically unapproved, untested medication that really, the media has promoted to the point that, it's off the charts, money supply off the charts. There's quite a few interesting tidbits there to add to that if you want to insert here. But welcome, Kev. Good to see you. So, I don't know if anybody has seen the documentaries, especially like maybe if you like the Corbett report on who is Bill Gates. Very interesting documentary, and it explains a lot about what certain rich people are trying to do with their wealth. Once you are filthy rich, what else is there, right? What else can you buy with your money apart from power and control? So it's not really a surprise that in order to achieve that goal, they need to basically reinvent the system, recreate the system that we have now. And the only way to do that is to basically blow up this current system we have so that then they can replace it with something that is a little more fitting to their requirements in order to really control and analyze and, track everything that happens. But before that happens, and I think this is all part of human behavior, it's really not anything that's out of this world. It's just human behavior, right? With power corrupts absolutely. And I think that that's definitely the case in this scenario where we're just at a turning point now where, cheap money is basically an invitation to get involved all in. And then once they, pull the levers and flip the switch, we're going to be living in a whole new world with a whole new financial system, all digital, everything tracked, everything you do, no black market. Stellar, I reckon, will definitely play an interesting role in that, especially with all the CBDCs, the way that, a lot of governments are now approving CBDCs, the UK recently, and, quite a few other countries have, also signed up for CBDCs. And we just like the technology that's going to be running it, whether it's XRP, XLM, doesn't matter. I'll probably buy both of them anyway. If you like this live stream, hit the like button. Yeah, we're trying to get people interested here in this content. And it is all based on the waves. To me, this is all just about explaining what I see in the waves, just like people try to explain the news and how the news fits the waves, right? But that's just a short-term thing. But what is the underlying, narrative agendas between, all these people on the planet, the elites versus the middle class versus the poor, what's happening there? I'm sure you guys have a good opinion on that. Johnny P says, it's still on the ledger, XRP scan, but just not showing in my wallet. Must be a glitch with the app. Coinbase support is non-existent. Not sure what to do. That's definitely a concern. But, I use Binance myself. And if you're an Ariaswave member, you'll know that. Just kidding. But yeah, I don't know. Coinbase definitely got pretty shitty support. You try and send them a support request and you probably wait maybe 1 or 2 months. I don't know. For that reason, I stopped using Coinbase. I suppose once this bear market is over, I'm just going to use straight up, cold storage or, offline wallet, not on the exchange wallet. That's what I'll be doing. And I think that's probably wise. But for now, you know, I mean, unless you want to just trade, transfer to your wallet, trade back into the exchange, you know, all that stuff. I don't know. It's a lot of effort. It's really tough if we can't trust our exchanges these days, given that we have like 50 million off, you know, factor authentication there with basically like, you know, get smart type authentication. You know, you go in the elevator, you go up the lift, and you basically come out the side door, and you know, you get authenticated with a retina scan and a facial recognition fingerprint and all that sort of stuff. Oh, okay, can't use Binance. Yeah, no, fair enough. Well, everything is sort of going up right now in the markets because, you know, it's the stimulus. We're in that uptrend. As you know, the Dow Jones D wave, yeah, the special D wave, that's going to get crazy very soon. If you've been following my analysis, you'll know what's going to happen in the Dow Jones over the next year. It's going to be up and down like a roller coaster. So even though it's been stepping up now, and I've noticed certain people start to say that it's just been 6 consecutive months of, you know, an uptrend, higher highs or whatever. Um, extrapolation in the markets always leads to losses. Just because you see something going up for a period of time, it doesn't mean that the future will produce the similar results from the past. So, Jesus, that's fully bizarre. How XRP can just disappear. That's pretty scary shit, man. But yeah, hope you solve that one. XLM looking juicy indeed. All right, so how about we switch to some charts now? I want to start off with good old fashioned US dollar. One second. Right. Okay. So we broke the magenta line in the US dollar. That to me is confirmation that wave E ended. Okay, wave 5. Now that was a weird wave 5 for sure. Okay, so to me, I called it, but I said, look, that's a complex pattern there. That's an ending diagonal pattern. And then we saw the break below what I coined or labeled, sorry, the end of wave 4. So far that's broken beneath that area, come back and retested. Now that there is in line with the larger picture. So you guys should know by now what this is. So we're in wave 3. Let's just do a quick recap of the major waves here. So let's just make this bigger and brighter. So we have wave A. Wave B hasn't ended yet for this zigzag wave 3. Okay. So that's the key component here. Now, this line can disappear because now, obviously, we couldn't go above that and never did. So we're going to go down to around the 80 area, right? Sorry, 88. To around the 88.0 area is measured move, measuring the same length of wave A here. And that'll be this move here, sorry. So it's this move here. Hang on a minute. Sorry, my mistake. This move here, this wave A here, in brackets, the blue one, that's part of this zigzag. So the zigzag is wave D zigzag. Within the B wave, so once that happens, we're going to see a move up to complete the B wave. And then we're going to have that final move for C. Now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Okay, so once we make that low in the US dollar, that's going to be the high in cryptos completed. Okay, so whenever we see a new high in cryptos, we're going to have to definitely have a very accurate and very small degree count of this move down that's going to happen now, that's in progress, right? So this is just getting started. So as you know, with Stellar, we've seen wave 1 down, and we're like 1, 2, and then we're going to see a 3 down. So the largest part of the move is yet to come, and it's going to start soon. So that is what's happening in the short term. And then obviously we're going to have, in total, we're going to have 4 moves down, right? So this is the key component here. So we're going to have the move down for the D to end the D wave. Then we're going to have the E. So that's going to probably produce a really devastating result for cryptos there, because as things get more volatile, cryptos suffer worse losses when the US dollar goes up, right? So to illustrate that point, I'll just go back to this last move we had up in the US dollar. It only went up, the US dollar only went up about 4%, and we had a 70% decline in Stellar XLM. Okay, so you can see how crazy this thing's getting at this point, right? So don't even start me on what's going to happen once this pattern ends and we see Stellar go up. That's something that is unformidable at this point, but it's probably going to be there's probably going to be other interesting things going on at that point, but I still do believe that it's going to crater everything, right? So as I was saying, 4 moves down left in the US dollar, 1 for the C wave of D, another one for the C wave of the wave 3 zigzag, and then we're going to have a wave 4. And then there's going to be basically another 2 waves down. Okay, so we have to see a wave 5 zigzag to the downside to complete the E wave of this entire move since March 2020. Okay, so you got your first zigzag up the top, you got a wave 2, small wave 2, wave 3, and then wave 4, we don't know what that's going to look like at this point. So there's no point trying to guess that. But then we're going to see a wave 5. Okay, so there's 4 moves down in total, and you have to really think about how that's going to affect cryptos. It's going to be very interesting indeed. Yeah. Okay. So with the US dollar, it's the main driver here at the moment. But as you can see, this particular move is an ending pattern. Okay. So once we get the ending pattern completed, we're going to make one more high back above the 2017 high. Now that's pretty significant if you ask me, because what that will do to global markets and cryptos is actually going to be pretty crazy. Now that there is going to be crazy indeed. It's I can't wait to get there, because by then we would have made a pretty good amount of profits, and we're taking them off at that point, and then waiting for this to happen before we buy again into cryptos. That's going to be, I reckon, the best thing that you can get out of this. Okay, but when the time comes, for now, we're just talking about the future, but we need to sort of try and be a little bit more realistic with the short term, which is why I just like to every now and then talk about this stuff. So you're probably thinking, why is this A wave up here? Well, that's because we know the larger pattern, right? It's a larger pattern it's all fractal patterns, right? So this is just a small pattern within a larger pattern, but then within this pattern, you've got all the same corrective patterns as you do in, it's just a fractal, right? You need to learn the waves in order to understand what I'm talking about. All right, so I suppose one chart that I've always mentioned is the Dow Jones chart, right? The DJI. So this one is fairly complex because it's the D wave of this correction since 2017. Okay, so since 2000, sorry, back here. Now in the Dow Jones, I do believe that it actually ended in 2018. Okay, but in cryptos, the trend ended in 2017. Okay, so not much of a big deal there. The A wave was small. Okay, and then we had the B, the C, the Corona C, and the Delta D wave still in progress. Now, in the long term, the grand scheme of things, right? I want to give you just a little bit more of a perspective today as to what the bigger picture is. Okay. Now, I haven't got it marked on this chart, but 87 was a turning point because it was the end of a correction that started way back, right? Great Depression around that time. So we've got the end of wave 2 here at 87. So 87 was a very important time. It's an E wave, right? 87 was an E wave. So what does that mean? It means that this here from 87 to well, actually it was not 2000, it was about 98, was wave 1, wave 2, then we had wave 1 and wave 2 still playing out. We don't know where that's going to go. Okay, it's probably going to be pretty shit down somewhere here. Okay. Now, so that's a 1-2, 1-2 pattern. So this is bullish long term. Okay. So once we complete this correction that we're in now, we're going to see a massive move up. So does anybody remember what happened to Venezuela or what's still happening in Venezuela? Hyperinflation. Well, that's what I think will happen in the Dow Jones. It'll hyperinflate at that point, and understanding the driving factors behind this type of thing is it's very interesting because it doesn't mean everyone's going to get rich. There's going to be a lot of issues during that time. Debt is going to be not that great, especially when interest rates rise dramatically. But all in all, commodities will probably go through the roof. And I suppose it's just the further devaluation of the US dollar. So very interesting there. And that, in line with cryptos, spells a massive bull run for cryptos as well. So very interesting indeed. Now, of course, we've got to go to XLM because obviously I am always tracking XLM. But just going back quickly to the 4-hour chart, since March 2020, let's just go to the daily. So wave 1 ended 2017. Okay, wave A ended for Stellar XLM March 2020. Okay, in Bitcoin, it bottomed out a little bit earlier, which is why the B wave is different in Bitcoin compared to XLM. Okay, it doesn't mean that this is not a B wave. It just means that it's a different variance of a B wave, right? And that's the Ariaswave corrective variance, which is a type 2 expanded zigzag. Okay. Now, that means that this just needs to make one more high to complete the pattern. Simple as that. There's no big deal there. It matches perfectly with the Bitcoin chart and the pattern. So this here will make another high. Now, as I said to you before, the US dollar went up 4% and this dropped 70%, right? So 70%. Okay. So once the US dollar, so once we make another high and the US dollar makes a short-term bottom, if the USD goes up, say 6, 7, 8%, right? You can only imagine what that's going to do to XLM. It'll probably put it in the dirt. Okay. It might not, I don't know how far down it will be, right? It might be just a little bit more than what it did drop. Okay. For a C wave. I don't know. I can't tell you the future. I don't have a crystal ball and I'm not a financial advisor as well. But that means after that, we're going to see the D. We don't know what kind of D it'll be, right? It could be far more expanded than that. I don't know. But at one point, we're going to see the end of D and we're going to see a massive. So let's just say, right, we saw a D like this. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but at some point, there's going to be a massive move down. And that's going to be when the US dollar makes its final high. Okay. Now, we don't know if it's going to be that deep. We don't know. We're just making an assumption because we saw the US dollar go up 4%, but yet this thing dropped 70%. Okay. So it's not like I'm fear mongering. It's not like I'm a crypto bear, all that bullshit, right? It's basically just using some logic. Like if the US dollar strengthens by, 10, 20%, like it did in the GFC, right? Then why wouldn't this crater and then be an amazing buying opportunity, right? But that doesn't mean that this is not going to go to the freaking moon after that, right? Like I said, we're in a 1-2 pattern in the Dow Jones, and hyperinflation is most likely going to be coming down the pipe. So that does not stop this thing from mooning beyond belief, right? It does not stop it because the US dollar will top at some point. But before then, we need to know what to do. And this is exactly what I try to teach people, obviously my members, right? And I teach it at the small degree. I teach it at the large degree. It's the same thing, right? Now, if you're a hodler since March 2020 and you saw this happen, you'd probably cry. Okay. You'd probably cry and you'd probably buy some more. I don't know. You'd probably do both. Maybe you do a few other things as well. But if you know the waves now, from this point on, you can actually make money up, sell, buy again at the bottom, make money up, sell, get back in after a certain retracement because this is a D wave, make money up, sell. And then by that point, you have more money to invest when you see that happen. You get me? That's the plan. Now, if you're a hodler, don't worry about this. You don't need to worry about this. You just keep holding, right? You can just follow the waves just because they look funky on the screen and you like seeing markets go up and down. They look pretty cool, yeah? You can see some red candles and some green ones. Amazing. But the point is that, these are large swings percentage-wise in XLM and cryptos in general, right? So why wouldn't you take advantage of those swings? Why wouldn't you? So that's what my aim is here. Now, the first step in doing this is we have to make one more high. Okay. So that's what we're doing now. That's what we're in the process of doing. So let's go to the small degree and understand this pattern. Oops, hang on. Let's understand this pattern here. Okay. So what is this pattern? Okay. So number one, we have wave one that ended here, right there. Then we have A. Okay, can you see how this happens all the time? It's a fractal pattern. Okay, and then pretty obviously we had a B. It's as clear as day. And then even more obvious was this C wave here, which is a picture perfect C wave. Now, all the members can look at this and say, wow, that does really look like the Ariaswave set of corrective waves on the portal. And you're not wrong. Okay, so now we get to this point here, and this is the beauty of the waves. Okay, now, this is something that I find totally intriguing. Now, I think I mentioned it on the program, but corrective waves can also have alternation. So just like wave 2 and 4 have alternation, well, corrective waves can alternate between regular and expanded. Okay, so there's a little tiny piece of info for you. So this is like a straight zigzag, right? It's pretty straightforward. This is an expanded one. Okay, so how do you pull that apart? Well, it's almost very similar to what's happening in the US dollar, right? At the small degree. This is a smaller degree, obviously. So you have an A wave, right? Now I'll just do these in blue. Right, so you have an A wave, and then within that you have A, B, C, D, E. Oh my God, look at that. Amazing, right? It's pretty cool. Once you learn the waves, this stuff is just like, you can make sense of it, right? And when you can make sense of stuff, your life becomes better. That's all I can say. So basically what we're expecting here is a C wave. Okay, a C wave for the larger wave D. So I made wave D. So let's make it size 16, right? There. Then you're going to get your E wave, right? Right there, and that's wave 2. That's it. So we only, like I said before, we're only looking for 2 more waves before wave 3 starts, okay? And once we break the magenta line on that wave D, once it happens, that's it. It's moving up. So if you're impatient as hell, just know that this pattern is just an expanded D wave, and then it'll go up. And you know where it's going. I told you, right? We need to make one more high. Okay. So that's some pretty rare insight there into Ariaswave. Right there. Happens at all degrees. You just got to learn the waves. Okay. And the variances. There are, each wave has a few variances. Yes. And it's really not that complicated to learn the waves. It's just about you understanding that there is a way to read the waves. Okay. Now, let me just go back there for a second, right? And I mean, it's so cool because I just love waves, right? Obviously. So just pay attention to how this C wave looks very similar to this C wave, but this C wave smaller, and you can see that it's part of another fractal pattern that happened at a smaller degree. Right? But look at them. They're almost, oops, hang on. They're almost identical because they're C waves and they're just straight C waves. There are variances, yes, but it's just beautiful. Look at the pattern before the C wave. It was a B wave. Look, a zigzag there, a zigzag there. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful, right? And if you don't fall in love with the waves, you ain't got no chance at understanding the waves. You have to love the beauty of fractal patterns, right? And that's why I like Stellar the most. Where did my wave 1 go? Someone stole my wave 1. I'll put it back there. There we go. Right. Now, I mean, that's a pretty cool example of the waves in action, right? And that's why I say I love Stellar, is because the waves are so damn clear. I mean, look at that. It's clear as day. So You know, that's why I don't stress. That's why it's taken me a little while to put out a video, but when you think about it, it's still playing out. It's still on the way up. It's actually stepping up slowly, right? And you're probably thinking, well, doesn't a wave one, doesn't a wave two have to pull back to 0.618% or 50%? Well, not if it's expanded, right? If it's an expanded correction, that just indicates that there's strength in the market, right? There's strength in the market, right? And that's basically all it indicates, right? Impulsive moves, they don't always come back to correct. Okay, it's just a strong trend. But as you know, when trends end abruptly, they can turn and they can go in the opposite direction much faster than they went up. So this is the type of stuff that it happens at all degrees. So once we make that high, once we go where we're going, I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to see a C wave, just like you see it down here on the small degree, right? We're basically, if we're talking about B waves here, we're basically in this portion here, like that. And then we're going to see one of these things. Boom. Okay. Now that's obviously an example, but you can see how the patterns move. It's not hard to believe that a C wave will come back down to even where the start of B was, right? You know, where wave B originated from. Okay. It happens at all degrees. It doesn't matter what you believe. It's just how the waves work. Okay. So that's why, like, it's not me. I'm not inventing things. I'm merely following the waves. That's what my ideas are all about. That's what I do. Yeah. So if there's any questions, now's the time, because we're basically, everyone's gone a bit quiet. We're heading into the end of this shortly. So if you want to ask some questions there, it's probably a good idea. Any comments, any feedback on that one? Was it complicated? Was it easy to get? Did you enjoy the visual representation of the waves? As I always talk about learning the waves, well, I've given you an example of how to read them. So that's what I do. That's why I love what I do. And it's timeless. It's literally timeless. You can learn the waves and you could be of old age and still trade. It's pretty cool. Right. So Bitcoin, basically, you know, if we go to the daily chart on Bitcoin, right, it's in a B wave. Okay. Now this is a regular zigzag. Just got a bit of an extended wave C, probably due to the fact that it's the leader of the pack. And, you know, we're basically in, you know, a pandemic, which, you know, you could say is leading the trend of digital currency. So basically it's kind of like extended this C wave, all right, the C wave in brackets. It's extended it. And it's fine because it's driving a lot of other cryptos along with it, right? I suppose it's driven XLM's B wave to be so big, right? Whereas maybe if this wasn't such a extended B wave, or sorry, expanded B wave, not so much expanded, but just like got a really long wave C, right? Then maybe XLM might have had a smaller wave B if this was a smaller wave B. You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, there's a lot of institutional, and other whale investors involved here, which has also helped this extend a lot during this time. The only problem is that being such a large wave C here has the potential to wipe out a lot of people because they probably think that this is heading into a wave 3, right? So if you're an Elliotician, right, for you to see a zigzag wave A, it's probably commonplace because not only is Elliott wave flawed, basically they would consider that like a wave 2 done, right? They would consider this wave 2 done. And I have actually seen a little bit of the Elliott wave analysis that they actually give their members. I have had a little look because I spoke to Dave Allen, head of research for Elliott wave, and he did give me a little bit of a look at what they're showing at this point. And yeah, they're basically saying it's wave 3 up. So this is going to be very interesting because Elliott wave is saying that this is a wave 3 up, but there is nothing to suggest that that's true. Apart from the C wave being a little bit longer, and because typically C waves are the similar in length to wave A, to me, this is like the fake out of the century. And once we get that C wave down, I do believe there's going to be a lot of pain and there's going to be blood on the streets. It's going to be terrible. Good morning, Pete. Welcome to the live stream. We are very close to wrapping up, so you may want to get the replay on this one. Just basically finishing up on the BTC chart here. Just explaining how this C wave was very long for a B wave, and this cannot be anything other than a B wave because of the corrective patterns that we've seen so far are nowhere near complete, okay? And we have seen the US dollar ignite massive volatility in cryptos. And yeah, if you go back and rewatch the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I've dropped quite a few gems on this one. A lot of stuff is going back over the same stuff I've covered before, but just laying it out in a more, comprehensive manner compared to before. Not that comprehensive compared to what I do for members, but still, giving you that piece of evidence that it's, it'll help you if you understand it. But yeah, like that there, this price action here, it's very interesting also. To me, that's an expanded wave 2. Wave 1 in Bitcoin was small. And that's the thing about the Bitcoin chart versus XLM. That's the thing about the XRP chart versus XLM. XLM had the biggest wave 1 out of all of them. The only thing about these Bitcoin and XRP is that their correction was expanded. So the corrective part of the move was expanded compared to the actual impulsive move. So I don't know what that means. I don't think it means much, but it shows that XLM has raw potential compared to, expanding corrections. I don't know. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. It's just an observation, really. Welcome, Legneck Neil. BTC going to complete a dinosaur pattern at the top. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, probably like a rhino as well, maybe potentially. The bull pattern. Now, this is all corrective. This is all corrective. Okay. It's just interesting to present this now because the future will tell us exactly what's happening, and we can refer back to this at some point. But at this point in time, as I've mentioned, on the 15-minute chart of XLM, we are just still going to see a little bit more choppiness here. Now, whether this is E-wave complete, not 100% sure. We might see another little low there simply because this pattern doesn't look quite complete yet. It could be like a type 2 weak wave E. So we might see another low here, and then that D wave complete E, and then that's it. We're off to the races. So really, we're looking at another couple of days potentially before we see some real interesting stuff happening, maybe towards the end of the week. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that one. Yeah, it definitely explains a lot. So, but to me, this is clear as day. If it goes up before that, hooray. But at the end of the day, it's going to be because maybe the E wave was sharp down and then up. Who cares? We're just waiting to cash out at the highs, waiting to cash in the chips, and then sell, move it to USDC or USDT, depending if you're game or not. I'm still thinking about it. I don't think USDT is ready to collapse just yet. There will definitely come a point in time where I will be using USDC instead. But it's just a bit of a shame that Binance took away the USDC pair. So, don't know. So far, it just seems like USDT is the way to go. Obviously, as we move forward, we might see other stable coins get more popular and become better for this type of transaction. Yeah, that's right. It's a bear market rally. So that's why we're going to cash, move into stable coins at the highs, wait for the drop, buy it again. Watch the video again and you'll see I went through quite a bit of stuff there on this one. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's been pretty cool to come back and present this stuff. Let's see what happens over the next few days. And if we see some nice green candles happen, I'll do another live stream towards the end of the week, probably. And that should be pretty fun. All right, guys, good to see you. And I'll catch you on the next Ariaswave live stream. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are.